yeah.
Journalists cannot create. They can only destroy.
Yes, they cannot. So the idea here is somebody made something successful. That successful product is now being watched by hundreds of thousands of millions of people everywhere. And a bunch of people came in and said, hey, it's not broke. Let's fix it. Mm-hmm. That's what they said. What is happening, guys, is that Wednesday has been renewed for a season 2, and CBR has some thoughts. They say it's time to hire more Black and Latin writers.
Do you guys remember the first backlash when they were saying that the Black characters were like pigeonholed into being bullies because it's stereotyping them as aggressive and violent? Yep. Well, this is just taking that backlash a step too far. I just want to say, like, on behalf of Gen Z, this is probably most Zoomers' first introduction to the Addams Family at all, like that whole franchise. And they're showing so much support for it. I haven't seen any complaints from Zoomers about this. I'm just seeing millennial journalists complaining about how it's not diverse enough in the writer's room or on screen, even though the main character is Hispanic.
Latin writers can explore Wednesday's Mexican heritage without stereotypes.
What is Latin?
Okay.
What is Latin?
Not everything needs to be explored. The secondary characters that you're complaining about don't need more backstories. Her heritage does not need hours and hours of exploration. You have a formula that works. Stick to the damn formula.
You know what would be awesome? If they get more Latin writers, and then Wednesday's like, I like tacos.
Well, literally, it says, perhaps the reason that Wednesday's Latin identity wasn't a large feature of her character in season 1 is because there were no Hispanic or Latin writers credited. This is an area that can be improved.
This is not important to the freaking story, you
Please
psychopaths.
Don't make Wednesday's Latin identity a large feature of her character.
It doesn't matter,
That is the
dude.
last thing that people are asking to happen. Okay, so let's just go through the backlash one by one. Firstly, they're claiming that the queen bee of the school in Wednesday, named Bianca Barclay, perpetuates an angry Black woman trope because she gets angry at Wednesday.
I'm sorry. All this stuff.
I guess Black characters can't be in a conflict with anyone
this
anymore.
This is the actor's fault. This is the actor's fault for courting years of, I'm so proud to represent this group. When you make everything about, when it's no longer about playing an individual character with individual goals, desires, and needs, and you make it about a larger story that has nothing, a larger sect of the world that has nothing to do with the story, you court this type of dialogue with people, where it can't just be that the person that she's fighting with in school is an individual, is a human being that has their own life experiences that add up to her right now at this time in her life, maybe sort of being a bully. It doesn't have to equal out to something greater than that.
Well, I watched the series over the weekend, and for the most part, I really liked it, and I realized what hypocrites the journalists were for saying that Bianca Barclay is a one-dimensional character, because it completely ignores the context that she had a character arc that developed throughout the season to the point where she almost was allied with Wednesday by the end.
Yeah.
And they show like parts of her own family history, her relationships with her mom and her stepfather, and like things to do with her powers because she's a siren. This character is far from one-dimensional or zeroed down to an angry Black woman trope simply because she is angry at Wednesday. I'm sorry, Black characters are allowed to have emotions without it being a racist caricature.
This goes back to the Kumail Nanjiani thing. You can't play villains. Can't play villains. You don't want to portray a harmful stereotype.
Well,
a harmful stereotype that no sane, logical person with a balanced set of emotions would ever expound to mean something larger than that. Nobody's like watching this show and been like, wow, I think that means I bet you all Black people are like that. No one's saying that, you freaking weirdo.
Another thing that this article complained about is Gomez Addams, Wednesday's father, getting accused of murder and then later being acquitted.
Yeah.
Because it perpetuates the stereotype that, quote, Latins are violent criminals, even though he was acquitted of the murder.
Yeah.
And by the way, it was revealed that it wasn't even a murder in the first place. I won't go into like spoilers there,
what
but
you're
like
saying is
he
there was a
didn't
story?
commit the crime. And
was a
yes,
story? Yeah.
there was a story. If anything, it goes against that stereotype, if such a stereotype exists.
Well, this is why you shouldn't do interesting things, right? This is why you shouldn't do interesting things.
Because you'll just get punished for it. Like, why even try? And then another thing they brought up was the mayor and his son, Lucas. They're both black characters, and they are basically the elites of the town neighboring Wednesday's school, Nevermore. It's called Jericho. And they have discriminatory attitudes toward the students at Nevermore because they are the outcasts rather than the normies. I'm questioning it because, like, why aren't black characters allowed to have discriminatory attitudes toward other characters for immutable traits, even though that's portrayed as a bad thing? Like, how is this questionable? It was brought up as a problem, but there was no explanation as to why it's a problem. Just because they are black characters, they're not allowed to be bad people or make bad decisions?
Because
I mean, even the mayor's son is shown to have a conflict of interest because he, makes friends with Wednesday's roommate, goes to a dance with her. They play a prank on all of the kids at the dance. And then he is visibly guilty for having played this prank on them, but then goes off with his friends from town.
Yeah.
Like, you're supposed to see that there is complexity to this character's motivations.
They don't understand.
But they don't understand that. Yeah.
Also, remember, this is because they don't know how to create anything from start to finish. They do not know how to do what their suggestions are. These journos wouldn't know how to do this from a season 1 that actually got traction. So just like always, they have to find something that other people like and latch onto it like a bunch of freaking locusts and suck it dry of any creativity and fun.
It's very Marxist in the sense that, like, you cannot create a Marxist society. You have to take over a thriving capitalist society.
They don't know how to create.
And that's why all their characters do what they do, which is they don't have stories that teach you a lesson. They stand in front of you and look into the camera and say, this is how I feel. Like, everything they do, they have somebody who goes on a diatribe about something, like Captain Marvel.
And if they make any of these changes now, it will interrupt the flow of the storytelling in season 1. It will feel inauthentic, and it will be dead on arrival.
You know what? I hope they do. Seriously, I hope
that's what they get.
do.
If they make these changes and they hire a bunch of people based on quotas and what journalists at CBR want for some reason, as if that's some selling point, like they know what they're talking about, and then the show tanks, that's their own fault.
I hope Jenna Ortega in interviews she just keeps saying, as a Latin, while she's drinking Ovaltine. She's like, as a Latin, I feel so happy about representation, and they just talk about it, and then every single episode is rated like a 3.
The replacement of Latinx with Latine totally
What does that even mean?
Threw me for a loop.
I think
I
Latinx is
haven't
better.
been following the trends
What does
on the
Latine
lingo.
mean?
I like Latinx. I like the X.
Has more spice.
Is Latine supposed to be reference to, like, is it actually supposed to be Latino teenagers?
No. It's
Latines.
INE at the end. But here's another line from this article that absolutely
I'm glad it wasn't you would have broken.
just like made me feel insane. It said, though Wednesday herself subverts the feisty Latina stereotype due to her reserved stoic demeanor. As the show delves into her romantic life, the writers need to avoid another pitfall of writing her as a Latina seductress.
Cool.
We're talking about a child right now.
Oh, she's not a child, is she?
Her character is 15.
The character's a child. Okay, look. Since when did every character, like, yes, it is cool when they break stereotypes, but that's the thing. Stereotypes only exist for a reason, right? So that you can contrast it heavily outside. Do I get excited every time a white character is not portrayed as a sleazebag criminal in TV shows now? No, I don't care. I'm a bit surprised maybe that they chose to do it, but I don't think that it means something larger for society.
I love that these dorks have a checklist of every stereotype. It's like, okay, angry black female. Sorry.
Like, plus it looks like
They're the ones telling black women that they're not allowed to appear angry.
That's what I'm
the
saying.
craziest thing. You are perpetuating the trope yourself.
you do not reward major success by firing the people that made it successful. You don't bend the knee to weirdo pop culture terrorists.
And not just hating on the people that made it successful, but also hating on the director, Tim Burton.
Yeah.
Because all of his previous projects are anti-black and racist, which is like based on, The Boogeyman had a black voice actor, and he had a Cajun accent, and he was a villain. Therefore, Tim Burton is
The
anti-black.
boogeyman.
Yeah,
But look at all the Latinos.
Nightmare Before Christmas.
Dude,
Oh.
the funny thing about this is like if they do season now they're off to the races for season 2, right? So is it going to be more episodes? Will it be less episodes? But it always starts in season 2. Like this is why I was talking about I never like watching anything past season 1 or season 2 because the writers, they run out of stuff to talk about, they run out of things to do, and they're like, what can we do? Now there is an argument to be made that once you get through the first story in a TV show, especially one that doesn't have an expiration date. These are limited run series, but if you're doing 24 episodes a year for 10 years, eventually you're going to get into their heritage and this stuff. It's it's just season 2. You don't need to start going into a bunch of extraneous material that has nothing to do with what made it successful in the first place. It doesn't make any sense.
I want it.
And just imagine being these writers. Imagine being these writers who pull off this unbelievable hit and they're like, look, you did fantastic. You did fantastic, but what we're going to do is we're going to bring in the people that didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And we're going to replace you because that's equity, I guess.
I just
So
want
how
to
does
see
that
her be like,
incentivize them doing a good job, season 1 even succeeded in spite of itself because they included all of these terms that will not age well. They mentioned the existence of TikTok, which is awful. I mean, that would be like watching a TV show from 2014 mention Vine today.
Yeah.
They even had Wednesday say the word mansplaining. They had her, go off on diatribes about how the Pilgrims are responsible for mass genocide. And they, made her admonish her male love interests for trying to save her. And she was like, I was able to save myself. And she talked about the patriarchy. In spite of all of these little, spiteful lines that they sprinkled in, it was still a good show. It was still entertaining, and it did amazingly. Obviously, it had viral potential, and you see the TikToks about it. Everyone loved it, and they still want to ruin it.
They're going to ruin it. They will. They don't understand. I am fully of the belief that anything that goes right in Hollywood right now is an accident. I don't believe that, you can say all you want that they get it right. Oh my God, they did such a... Reacher will be a good test of that. If there's any garbage in Reacher season 2, they don't understand. They literally luck into it. When they do something right, it's kind of like Tim would always talk about, Trump slips on a banana peel and does it. It actually is slipping on a banana peel and doing a backflip. They don't know how to actually... Taylor, you can make the argument that Taylor Sheridan knows what he's doing as far as creating content. Even then, that's more in line with... That's his value system, and he's in charge of all of these projects. They do not get it right on, they don't get it right on purpose. They will screw this up in season 2. I can almost guarantee it.
well, that's,
Do you think-
that's
sorry.
good. I want that to happen because then it can be, see, this is a show. It was a success. They brought these people after a success. They did their thing, and now it failed. There's the customer journey. That's all
There's
you
a
need.
growing hall of infamy in Hollywood right now that I think could be used to teach them a lesson, but they still don't seem to be making any changes.
Do you think that
go
do you
ahead.
think that they allow, and I'm talking about the locusts, allow this stuff to fall through the cracks because they think that it's going to fail and they will make fun of it, and then when it is successful, like Reacher, they think Reacher is going to fail because it's
No, I think
What's
there's
the
no social capital behind military focused shows. It's for
Right,
an
but
older
they-
male audience that they're not interested.
but they
in.
assume that it's going to fail and they'll make fun of it. I have a lot of friends that were in the Screen Junkies era, right? And they would make fun of American Sniper and stuff like
they
this.
just hate Middle America and they hate
and they don't they think that nobody's going to watch this crap, and then it explodes and they're like what?
They to this
and
day
then they're upset about it.
If you rewound time and all of these people were who they are today, and you put them on a podcast 2 days before Passion of the Christ came out, they still wouldn't understand why it would do so well, because they don't understand the rest of the country. They're blind to it. It's it just makes no sense to me, and I'm happy to watch it burn, because I don't know if there is. Can you think of somebody other than a Taylor Sheridan who knows what he's doing to a point where you assume it's not an accident?
Explain what you mean by that. I'm sorry.
Okay, so when he makes his projects,
Yeah.
I've seen some of Yellowstone. I've seen 1883. I like Tulsa King.
Mm-hmm.
I'm halfway through Mayor of Kingstown.
Christopher Nolan?
No.
No?
Oh no, yeah. Well, yes, you would be right. The movies are a little bit different. I'm thinking more in the TV
okay,
space
well.
here because you get more like when you do a show for 3 to 5 seasons. That's your litmus test.
The
Like,
Breaking Bad people?
was the first season. Yeah, Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul. All of those shows would maybe be a good example of people that understand what they're doing and it's not an accident. When it's one
Noah
of these,
Hawley, maybe?
when it's one of these Netflix series or a Hulu series or an Amazon Prime series that happens to do well, I don't believe that it's on purpose. I think they get lucky.
I think Noah Hawley and Ryan Murphy. Like, I don't like Ryan Murphy stuff, but he knows what the people that like him, like, and then Noah Hawley, the guy that did Legion, and Fargo.
And even like that's back to that space where those are things that nobody like they understand that there's no social capital in making those things horribly progressive because the target audience for that is well outside of their demographic. They want the youths. They want the kids.
But that's my point, is that they think that it's outside their target demographic, but then what happens is lots of people like it, and then that's when they seize on it,
and then they
it's
steal
like,
it.
And I'm saying, do you think the reason that it falls through is they're like, oh, nobody's going to care about another Addams Family thing? And then it's huge, and they're like, well, we want it.
Well, yeah, it's kind of interesting because the Addams Family one, they kind of fell into it. There is an argument that the Addams Family or even Scooby-Doo were such large franchise to begin with that there is a reason to co-opt that for themselves. But it's the kids. They want to get the kids young and indoctrinate them into the way they believe the world should be. And then when something does well, listen, I don't see that even happening with Reacher season 2 or something like that, because it's like, are they really going to indoctrinate a bunch of middle-aged guys who want to watch a cool show about a dude beating people up and solving
No, what
crime?
they're going to say is, like, we're going to make it where it's not just them, also their wives, and their kids are going to love it now too, because we're going to include this character and that character, and he's going to learn. Reacher's going to learn in this one. That's what's going to happen.
Yep. Thanks for watching this clip, guys. If you want to see full episodes or follow us on social media, links are in the description below. Bye.
Bye.